Hello guys, in this video we will go over the performance architecture related exam practice questions which has recently occurred in AWS Certified Solution Architect Associate exam. So before we start, just wanted to let you know these are a little easy kind of questions. Um, in the exam, the questions will be too lengthy. Some questions will be easy and less lengthy in terms of wordings and try to confuse you. These questions are on the simpler side, and you have to make sure these are kind of low-hanging fruit, so grab it as soon as possible and answer it as quickly as possible so that you can have more time for the other big questions. Let's go on the question number one. The first question: an application load balancer is in front of an auto-scaling group of EC2 instances, and the instances are backed by an RDS database. The auto-scaling group has been configured to use default termination policy. You are testing the auto-scaling group and have triggered an scale in. Which instance will be terminated first? We have four options. The instance launched from the oldest launch configuration. This looks like a probable answer, but let's go over the other answers as well. The instance for which the load balancer stops sending traffic. Mostly when a default configuration, generally it goes round robin, so it generally does not happen that suddenly it stops traffic for a particular node. So this might not be the answer. The longest running instance. This can be another one, but based on the scenario, like I will give you the explanation quickly on that. The auto-scaling group will be randomly selected an instance to terminate. This might not be the one. So out of these four, the first one looks to me the correct answer. Then in a by default scale-in policy, the instance which launched from oldest configuration will be terminated first. There's a brief description of it. You may get similar kind of question in which they may ask you, okay, in one availability zone you have two instances running, in a other availability zone four instances are running, and which when scale in happens, in which zone it will terminate the instances first. So in default termination policy, it will try to balance the availability zone. So if a 2 in one and there's a 4 instance running on another availability zone, it will try to balance it, and it will try to first make it reduce from 4 to 3 and then 3 to 2. And for this particular specific scenario, when they have not given such scenario where you have two availability zone where they have to balance, you can easily go with the option that it will go with the oldest launch configuration. Let's move to the question number two. You have multiple EC2 instances housing application in a VPC in a single availability zone. Your EC2 workload need low latency network performance, high network throughput, and a tightly coupled node-to-node communication. What is the best measure you can do to ensure this throughput? So clearly from the question, it seems like it's a Kafka or uh, Cassandra or any distributed system where you have to have a very high network throughput between the nodes. The option number one, use elastic network interfaces. Surely this will not be the option because ENI is the most basic network interfaces. Minimum it should be enhanced network adapter, but obviously it's not asking for any network enhancement in this question, so this might not be the correct answer. Auto scaling groups, again there's no throttling happening with respect to EC2 instances, so this will not be the correct answer where they need to scale up and scale down based on the load. Launch your instances in cluster placement group. So this most probably the answer because here you are creating a group of EC2 instances in a particular availability zone or a region where they are grouped together, and they might be mostly using internal AWS network, their private IPs, so that the and communication between them are very fast. Increase the size of the instances. So that's not the answer too. So I'm going with option number 3. If you like to know more, you can pause the video and you can go over the more elaborated description here. Let me move on to the next question. A team of architects is designing a new AWS environment for a company which wants to migrate to the cloud. The architects are considering the use of EC2 instances with instance store volumes. The architects realize that the data on the instance store volume are ephemeral, which action will not cause data to be deleted from the instance store volume. Option 1, hardware disk failure. Definitely this will cause you will lose the data. Instance is stopped. Definitely this will also you will lose the data if instance stops. The underlying disk drive fails. Definitely you will lose the data. And fourth is reboot. I will go with the option reboot. In all other options, when there's an underlying disk fails, the instance stops, the instance terminates, or it is getting terminated, um, or hard disk failure. In all those scenarios, you will lose the data from instance store volume as it is an ephemeral storage. Let's move to the next question. An application is hosted on EC2 instance in a VPC, the instance in a subnet in a VPC, and the instance has a public IP address. There is also an internet gateway and security group in the proper ingress configured. But but your testers are unable to access to instance from the internet. What could be the problem? First option. Make sure the instance has a private IP address. Definitely is not an answer for connecting internet. It has to be a private IP or it has to have a net gateway or those kind of scenario. As it already has a public IP, so we don't need to worry about that. Next question, next option. Add a route to the route table from the subnet containing the instance to the internet gateway. This most probably the answer, but let me move to the next ones first. A net gateway needs to be configured. There's already an internet gateway. You don't need a new net gateway. Surely. The next, a virtual private gateway needs to be configured. Definitely, that's not a correct answer as well. So I will go with the option number 2. Add a route to the route table from the subnet containing an instance to the internet gateway. And this is the correct answer as in the steps what they mention in the top in the question. They should have mentioned this step where there should be a route in the route table to the internet gateway. Question number 5. You have been assigned to create an architecture which uses load balancer to direct traffic to an auto-scaling group of EC2 instances across multiple availability zones. The application to be deployed on these instances is a life insurance application which requires path-based and host-based routing. Which type of load balancer will you need to use? Definitely for path and host-based routing, you have to select for application load balancer. There AWS generally have three type of load balancer: application load balancer, classic load balancer, and network load balancer. You choose application load balancer when you need any path-based routing, host-based routing, or any normal application web application based routing. Classic load balancer is very rarely used, uh, not preferred to. um, Generally application load balancer is the preferred load balancer. Network load balancer you use when you need very high throughput. So in the question, if they ask about millions of requests and coming in a quick succession, you should select network load balancer. Qualities of ALBs. So in the exam, if they ask about some scenario based question with respect to, if any, based on some fields on URL or on the headers, if you want to forward a request to a particular EC2 instance or a group of instance, you should select this. if you want to support for returning a custom HTTP response. I had a similar question where the application was only supporting HTTPS. However, the clients want to make HTTP and HTTPS both kind of requests. So in what load balancer you will use so that the application will receive the request only in HTTPS. In that scenario, the application load balancer you have to customize, even though if you are receiving the request at HTTP or HTTPS, and in the application EC2 instance only should receive the HTTPS request that can be handled only at ALB. So that's all for it, guys. If you're preparing for exam, best of luck. If you like this video, please like and share, and please subscribe. That will be a huge encouragement for me to make more such videos. Thank you very much.